Hello and welcome. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran and you're watching Newsnight on DD India, your prime-time destination for news and bespoke analysis. It's good to see you again. Right, on the show tonight, some good news at long last. The number of people testing positive for the coronavirus in India is beginning to show a decline. What it means is that the number of coronavirus cases per day is dropping, and that is a welcome sign. We delve into the reasons for this trend and what it means for India's fight against the deadly second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. Also on the show, BJP's President JP Nadda asks the Congress party to stop misleading people and creating a false panic over the pandemic. Plus news and updates from around the world, all that and much more coming up over the next 1 hour. But first, as always, the headlines. India's fight against COVID-19 beginning to deliver results. Number of new cases falling in Maharashtra, Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Haryana, Gujarat, among 18 states and union territories. But no respite still in Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu and West Bengal. Positivity rate drops across India but remains at 15% in 26 states. COVID-19 tests playing a crucial role in combating pandemic. India creates another record by conducting 1.9 million tests in a single day on 30th April. No RT-PCR test required for interstate travel. Efforts on to ramp up rapid antigen tests in villages. Indian Railways transports 375 tankers containing more than 5,735 metric tons of oxygen to various states. 90 oxygen express trains complete journey. Navy brings oxygen from Kuwait. The Air Force ferries oxygen from overseas as well. The Indian Armed Forces pitch in. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh visits two 500-bed hospitals built by DRDO and HAL in Lucknow. DRDO is constructing 500-bed facilities in Jammu and Srinagar. The Army's Western Command and Haryana government set up a COVID hospital at the Atal Bihari Vajpayee Government Medical College near Faridabad. Telangana joins some other states to announce a lockdown till 22nd May. Karnataka Chief Minister B.S. Yediyurappa visits a COVID war room in Bengaluru. Relief measures for COVID patients in Jammu and Kashmir. Pension to the dependents of a person who dies from COVID-19. International assistance pouring into India is quickly dispatched to the needy. More than 9,000 oxygen concentrators, 5,000 cylinders, 19 generation plants, and about 6,000 ventilators and 344,000 remdesivir supplies sent to the states. Vaccination campaign continues. More than 172 million doses administered so far. 2.6 million of them were the first vaccine for people between 18 and 44 years. States told to give priority to people eligible for the second dose and also to avoid wastage of vaccine. BJP Chief JP Nadda writes to Congress President Sonia Gandhi, voices a disappointment at the behavior of the Congress leaders during the pandemic, says Made in India vaccine is a matter of national pride, but Congress leaders are trying to ridicule it and create doubts about the vaccine in people's minds. And death toll mounts as Israel-Gaza violence escalates. Israel launches airstrikes after rockets fired from Gaza. Palestinian health officials say at least 24 dead. The Israeli forces claim 15 militants are killed. Right, let me dive straight into our cover story. For the last few days now, we've been focusing on the second wave of the pandemic in India. Tonight, we take a deep dive into what a fall in positivity rate and therefore A fall in new cases across the country means for India's fight, your and my fight, to stop the spread of the coronavirus. Now, positivity rate is the percentage of people who test positive for the virus. The next report will bring you up to date on the vaccination campaign and also foreign aid pouring in to India.
With the coordinated efforts of centre and the states, India's fight against COVID-19 continues unabated. More than 3,29,000 new cases of coronavirus have been reported in the last 24 hours. At the same time, 3,56,082 patients have recovered and been discharged. At present, the total number of active cases in the country stands at 37,15,221.
करीब 18 स्टेट्स और यूनियन टेरिटरीज देश में ऐसी हैं जहां पर या तो एक प्लेटोइंग इन टर्म्स ऑफ केसेस बीइंग रिपोर्टेड या एक डिक्रीज नोट किया जा रहा है, जिसमें मुख्यतः महाराष्ट्र, उत्तर प्रदेश, आंध्र प्रदेश, दिल्ली, राजस्थान, हरियाणा, छत्तीसगढ़, बिहार, गुजरात और ऐसे ही मध्य प्रदेश, उत्तराखंड, झारखंड जैसी स्टेट्स हैं जहां पर कि हम पाते हैं कि या तो केसेस की ग्रोथ जो है वो है उसमें थोड़ी कमी पाई गई है या उसमें एक रिडक्शन नोट किया गया है। जरूरी यह है कि यह स्टेट्स भी कंटिन्यूड फोकस अपना कंटेनमेंट पर बनाए रखें ताकि हम इन्फेक्शन के स्प्रेड को कम कर सकें।
At present, the positivity rate in 26 states of the country is more than 15%. There are 9 states where positivity rate is over 25%. New cases are rising in states of Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, Tripura and Nagaland. But in a huge relief, overall positivity rate has dropped in the country.
27 अप्रैल पर देश में जो केस पॉजिटिविटी थी 19% थी ओवरऑल देश की, जो कि आज अगर पिछले 24 घंटे का डेटा देखें तो पाते हैं 18%, यानी कि करीब 14 दिन बाद हमने एक ओवरऑल ट्रेंड इन डिक्रीज इन पॉजिटिविटी अक्रॉस द कंट्री नोट किया है। इसी के साथ ही हमने एक और एनालिसिस करी है तो पाई है बिकॉज ऑफ द कंटिन्यूड एफर्ट्स बाय द स्टेट, 11 स्टेट ऐसी हैं जहां पर वीक ऑन वीक पॉजिटिविटी में भी रिडक्शन नोट किया गया है।
Testing is also playing an important role in the mighty battle against coronavirus. On April 30th, India achieved a significant milestone of vaccinating over 19,45,000 people. No other country has achieved this feat of vaccinating such a huge number of people on a single date. Further, the centre has also stressed on conducting rapid antigen tests in villages and remote areas of the country.
We have to, in the field level and in rural areas and in areas which are hard to reach, we have to start using the rapid antigen tests more aggressively. Earlier our recommendation was 70% RT-PCR and 30% RT, but now since the wave is raging, we have requested that we must do more RT tests, faster RT tests, so faster isolation and faster breaking the chain of the virus so that it does not spread.
Railways has been instrumental in transporting life-saving oxygen to various states in the country. Railways has so far transported 5,735 metric tons of liquid medical oxygen in over 375 tankers. 90 oxygen express trains have completed their journeys as on date. The states that have so far received the life-saving oxygen through railways are Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Haryana, Telangana, Rajasthan, Karnataka, Delhi and Uttar Pradesh. Karnataka received its first oxygen express carrying liquid medical oxygen, which reached Bangalore on Tuesday. According to the Southwestern Railway, an oxygen express with 120 metric tons of oxygen in 6 cryogenic containers left from Jharkhand on Monday. Uttarakhand also got its first oxygen express. With this, Uttarakhand becomes the 9th state in the country to receive oxygen via railways. Another oxygen express of Indian Railways has loaded liquid oxygen from Tata Nagar and has reached Lucknow. Similarly, one oxygen express bound from Durgapur has reached Kanpur. The one bound from Rourkela has reached Faridabad. Another train carrying oxygen from Bokaro in Jharkhand has reached Sagar in Madhya Pradesh. Bareilly welcomed its 7th oxygen express that was bound from Bokaro. In fact, oxygen express bound train from Bokaro has 49.7 metric tons of oxygen. This will supply oxygen to not only Bareilly but also Shahjahanpur, Muradabad and Hardoi in Uttar Pradesh. Meanwhile, Indian Air Force aircraft are flying continuously at full speed to deliver the much-needed assistance to states in need. IAF C-17 Globemaster aircraft transported 2 cryogenic oxygen tankers from Agra to Jamnagar. At the same time, 2 tankers were transported from Gwalior to Ranchi. IAF's IL-76 reached Singapore on Tuesday and is bound for Panagarh in West Bengal with 3 empty cryogenic oxygen containers on board. Indian Navy is also pulling out all the stops to help the country tide over the second wave of coronavirus. INS Tower and INS Kochi, carrying 5 oxygen containers carrying a total of 100 metric tons of oxygen from Kuwait, reached the New Mangalore port on Tuesday. Apart from oxygen, the naval ships also transported 70 pallets of oxygen cylinders and 2 high-flow oxygen concentrators. INS Kolkata too carried medical relief from Kuwait to Mangalore port Monday evening for distribution to various states. It comprised of 2 ICU oxygen tanks containing 40 metric tons of liquid oxygen, 200 oxygen cylinders and 4 high-flow oxygen concentrators. Similarly, INS Airawat carried medical relief from Singapore to Visakhapatnam port Monday night, consisting of 3,600 oxygen cylinders for distribution to various states.
वर्चुअल सेंट्रल कंट्रोल रूम सेटअप किया गया जिसमें भारत सरकार तथा स्टेट्स यूनियन टेरिटरीज के सीनियर ऑफिसर्स हैं जो कि अपने आपस में इंफॉर्मेशन एक्सचेंज के साथ साथ कोई भी अगर प्रॉब्लम आती है तो इमीडिएटली फ्लैश करते हैं और उसका तुरंत सॉल्यूशन रियल टाइम बेसिस पे राउंड द क्लॉक किया जाता है.
Oil and gas PSUs are also helping in providing transportation solutions for liquid oxygen. Orders have been placed for procurement of additional ISO containers and cylinders. International global assistance also continues to pour in. Cumulatively, 9,200 oxygen concentrators, 5,243 oxygen cylinders, 19 oxygen generation plants, 5,913 ventilators, approximately 3,44,000 remdesivir vials have been dispatched through road and air to different states and union territories from 27th of April this year till Monday. An oxygen generator from the United Kingdom capable of a 500 litres per minute output was dispatched last night from Delhi to Chirang, Assam via rail. Further, the vaccination drive is picking its pace across the country.
करीब 17 करोड़ डोजेज गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया की तरफ से स्टेट्स को फ्री दी जा चुकी हैं. तो एक स्थाई पर जो मुख्य कार्यक्रम जो चल रहा है वो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया की तरफ से फ्री स्टेट्स को प्रोवाइड किया जा रहा है ताकि हम मॉर्टेलिटी को कम कर सकें. साथ ही एडिशनैलिटी के रूप में एक डायरेक्ट परचेज की फैसिलिटी भी सबको दी गई है, चाहे वो कॉरपोरेट हों, प्राइवेट सेक्टर इंडिविजुअल्स हों या इंडस्ट्रीज हों या स्टेट्स हों. तो इट इज़ एन एडिशनैलिटी जिसमें स्टेट्स जो हैं उनसे अपने जितने भी सप्लायर्स हैं उनसे बात करके उनसे ऑर्डर प्लेस कर सकती हैं.
Reviewing the progress of vaccination drive across the country, Centre has directed the states and union territories to keep aside 70% of vaccine doses received for the administration of the second dose. It has also asked the states and union territories to monitor the usage of vaccines in order to minimize wastage. Thus, all-round efforts are being undertaken to channelize resources so that the second wave of the pandemic can be contained at the earliest. With inputs from Sudhir, Nandita, Aisha, Rajesh and Nitendra. Bureau Report, DD India.
Now, it's not just civil administration in states or union territories that's at the forefront of India's fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. The Indian Armed Forces are lending more than a helping hand too. For instance, the DRDO and HAL are helping set up new COVID hospitals across the length and breadth of the country. In fact, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on Tuesday visited 2 new hospitals set up in Lucknow with the help of the Defence Research and Development Organisation and the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. Meanwhile, Telangana joined the list of states to impose a lockdown. The next report has all the details.
Ramping up health infrastructure across states remains a priority for both state governments as well as the centre. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh visited 2 new COVID hospitals set up in Lucknow with the help of Defence Research and Design Organisation and Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. He visited a makeshift COVID hospital at the Hajj House in Sarojini Nagar area. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath was also present with him. The 255-bed hospital has been set up by HAL in collaboration with the UP government. Defence Minister also visited Atal Bihari Vajpayee COVID hospital set up by DRDO at Awadh Shilpgram. The 500-bed hospital is already functional and is manned by medical and paramedical staff from the Armed Forces Medical Services.
DRDO का जो लगभग 500 बेड का जो कोविड हॉस्पिटल बना है उसका भी उन्होंने लोकार्पण किया था। यहाँ पर जो लगभग 25 वेंटिलेटर्स और अप्रॉक्सीमेटली 100 के आसपास यहाँ पर HFNC यानी जो क्रिटिकल जो केसेस होंगे इनके ट्रीटमेंट की यहाँ पर बहुत ही अच्छी व्यवस्था की गई है।
Defence forces and elite services continue to help state administrations in ramping up health infrastructure. In Jammu's Bhagwati Nagar area, DRDO is setting up a 500-bed hospital to combat the surge in cases in the Union Territory.
जम्मू में 500 बेड का हॉस्पिटल भगवती नगर में और दूसरा एक 500 बेड का हॉस्पिटल श्रीनगर में, इनका काम दोनों का शुरू हो चुका है और हमारी उम्मीद है कि जम्मू का अस्पताल 25 तारीख तक कंप्लीट होगा और जो श्रीनगर का हॉस्पिटल है वो 1 जून तक तैयार होगा।
In Faridabad, a 100-bed facility set up by the Indian Army has become functional.
हम लोगों ने एक ड्राई रिसेप्शन रूम बनाया हुआ है जहाँ पे पहले पेशेंट आने के बाद में हम लोग उनको एडमिट रखेंगे। उसके अलावा यहाँ पे क्योंकि 25 किलोमीटर दूर है मेन सिटी से और यहाँ पे लैब की सुविधा उपलब्ध नहीं थी, तो आर्मी की तरफ से बेसिक लेबोरेटरी फैसिलिटी की सुविधा भी यहाँ पे हम लोगों ने उपलब्ध कराई गई है।
In Chandigarh, too, a makeshift hospital set up by Western Command is now operational. It is a referral hospital for those serious and critical patients.
आने वाले 4-5 दिनों में हमारे तमाम हॉस्पिटल्स पंजाब में, हरियाणा में और जम्मू में जहाँ पे भी आना है वो बहुत चालू हो जाए।
Meanwhile, Telangana joined the list of states to impose a lockdown. The decision to restrict movement from Wednesday, 12th of May to 22nd of May was taken at a cabinet meeting. There will be a relaxation from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. The state government has also decided to invite global tenders for the procurement of vaccines. Karnataka Chief Minister B.S. Yediyurappa inspected a COVID war room at Magadi in Bangalore West and reviewed the bed management system. The war rooms in Karnataka are set up by the BBMP and the Health Department to facilitate bed management and other coordination between various agencies. The war room is managed by volunteers and is operational 24 hours a day. The BBMP has made the bed allocation system more transparent through a live portal to display the bed availability.
Our war rooms are working as model to the entire country, and their management system is very meticulous. I have got details about the bed occupancy, and it shows that more than 503 patients have occupied beds for more than 20 days. There were 3,000 beds and now 12,199 beds available. Karnataka also received oxygen containers with the arrival of first oxygen express today. 6 cryogenic containers carrying medical supplies, and each container carried 20 tons of liquid medical oxygen, and total of 120 tons was delivered by the center.
In neighbouring Goa, Chief Minister Pramod Sawant inspected facilities in the COVID-19 ward of the state's top government hospital, the Goa Medical College.
जितने कोविड वार्ड है वहाँ जाके मैंने डॉक्टर से बात की, नर्सिस से बात की, वहाँ के हाउसकीपिंग से बात की, पेशेंट से बात की। वहाँ के डिफ़िकल्टीज हैं, वहाँ पे सिलेंडर पहुँचने के लिए थोड़ी बहुत देर होती है, दैट इज़ देयर, बट हमारे पास सिलेंडर्स अवेलेबल है, ऑक्सीजन अवेलेबल है। जो मिसमैनेजमेंट है इसके लिए थोड़ा सा एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन स्ट्रीमलाइन करना पड़ेगा।
The Corona curfew continued in Chennai, Bengaluru, Kottayam, Bhopal, Srinagar and Jodhpur. Authorities are making all efforts to ensure restrictions are followed. Essential services continue to be allowed. Vaccination drives also continue across the country in full earnest. Uttar Pradesh expanded the drive beginning 10th of May. Vaccination of the 18 to 44 years of age group is now being conducted across 18 districts. So far, 1,39,08,152 doses have been administered. On May 10th, 50,157 people in this age group were inoculated. Thus, more than 1.66 lakh people aged 18 to 44 years have been vaccinated in the state. Vaccine waste is also declining in this age group. Currently, it is 0.6%.
18 से ऊपर का जो वैक्सीनेशन है आज 15 सेशन साइट्स पे हो रहा है, जिसमें हमारे 11 CSC हैं और अर्बन में 4 CSC हैं। और ये अभी रोज़ाना जो है लगभग 2300 डोजेज जो है अभी देनी है, अभी से लेकर के सैटरडे तक, और फिर उसके बाद संडे का ब्रेक लेकर के फिर अगले हफ्ते।
नगरीय क्षेत्र में 12 केंद्र हैं और प्रत्येक ब्लॉक में एक केंद्र है। आज कुल मिलाकर 2800 ऐसे व्यक्तियों का टीकाकरण किया जाना है। अधिक संख्या में लोग आ रहे हैं और जहाँ तक मैं सोचता हूँ जितने भी लोगों का रजिस्ट्रेशन है सभी को वैक्सीन लगाने में हम सफल होंगे।
In Bhubaneswar, 3 more drive-in vaccination centers have been launched. Those seeking to get their second dose can easily and safely access the service here.
We have started on Saturday as a pilot basis at one mall. So it was very successful and it was very appreciated. Now we have started 3 more places. We are planning to add a few more places so that every geographical area of the BMC can be covered.
Be it boosting health infrastructure or ensuring vaccination for all state governments as well as the central government are doing all they can to face the COVID-19 challenge. Bureau Report, DD India.
Right, time now for our In Focus segment in which we are discussing about what a drop in daily cases means for India's fight against COVID-19. Joining me are two guests, Dr. Sunila Garg, Member Lancet Commission, COVID India Task Force and Director and Professor, Department of Community Medicine at the Maulana Azad Medical College in New Delhi, and Professor Sharman Singh, Director and Chief Executive Officer of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Bhopal. Professor Singh and Dr. Garg, welcome to Newsnight. If I can start with you, Professor Singh, two pieces of information coming in this afternoon. One, positivity rate dropping in about 15 or 18 odd states, and correspondingly the number of daily cases also seeing a decline. Help our viewers understand who are not familiar with these technical jargon. What does it mean for them, India's fight against COVID-19, and the reasons for this decline or the trend, the declining trend in those figures?
I think the lockdown is most important, which is, playing important role in this, and I think that that will be most important, and that's what we have been saying, that lockdown is the most successful and time-tested thing, which I think works, and that is the result what we are seeing today. And you very rightly said, but I must say that that does not mean that we should be again complacent. So we should continue our efforts, governments and all the healthcare workers. We are working. We should continue to work on that line. And that is most important. And though it is a good news, but we should not be carried away with this kind of trend.
Right. Coming to you now, Dr. Garg, I want you to help our viewers understand the reasons for two other pieces of information that came in this afternoon. One, we are told that priority must be given to those eligible for a second dose of the vaccine, number one. And number two, more rapid antigen tests to be conducted in villages or tier 2 and tier 3 towns. Why is it so? Help our viewers understand the significance, one, of priority for the second dose. Is it true that if you do not take the second dose within the stipulated time, the efficacy of the vaccine diminishes? Is that true?
Thank you so much, first of all, for asking this question. Now, why we have to take a second dose? Because number one, we have to have a complete, immunity. That means our antibody conversion becomes, 70 to 80% depending upon the type of vaccine what we take. So it is important. Even if one has suffered from the disease also, so like one has taken one dose of vaccine, he or she has suffered from infection, then again, till up to 3 months, he can take the vaccine, okay? So that, we can have a maximum acquisition of antibodies, that is there, number one. So that will, protect us from, severe kind of diseases in future, and also hospitalization. So it is very, very important to take second dose. And today, why government has said also, we have got lot of people in the age group 45 years and above who have taken the first dose of vaccine, and they are now due for second dose. So they must complete that, because mortality is much more higher in the individuals who are 45 years and above, because they are suffering from comorbidities.
Dr. Garg, I just want you to pause for a moment, help our
hypertension,
viewers understand something very clearly here. Suppose I have taken my first dose, and for some reason beyond my control, I fail to take the second dose within that stipulated period of time. For instance, 28 days for Covaxin or 38 to 42 days for Covishield. Will it hurt or harm me? I mean, will the efficacy of the first dose go waste?
No.
Okay.
It's a very, very important question. So even if you have missed the second dose in a stipulated period of time, first of all, now we have increased the, gap of Covaxin also to 6 weeks. And in case of Covishield, we can go up till, 12 weeks, that is there. Government says 8 weeks, but we can go up till 12 weeks also. But fundamental principle of immunization is that whether we talk of children, whether we talk of now adult vaccine program is never restarted. It has to be continued from whatever number of doses we have taken in order to get maximum seroconversion.
Right. So and why this emphasis on more rapid antigen tests as compared to RT-PCR?
Yeah, I'm coming to that. First of all, you see, number one, as the disease is moving to the rural areas, now we also saw that, our positivity was quite very high in different states. And then, in that case, rapid antigen will pick up the positive cases, in a much larger number. Earlier, whenever, the prevalence, that means of the infection, or you can say prevalence means new and old cases, if we are doing it one period of time, or incidence of infection is very high, then, basically rapid antigen will pick up. But the philosophy behind this whole endeavor is also that now, since the disease is moving to rural areas as well, you must have heard that we are moving to states of districts of Bihar or Madhya Pradesh or Chhattisgarh and all that. So we are promoting their rapid antigen test because first of all, it is easier to carry out. The results will be easier in shorter period of time, and with you can teach even your paramedical workers to do this test. So that is very, very important part which we have to remember that. So that thing is most important. So that we have to keep in mind that we have to go ahead with the more rapid antigen test, which is the need of the hour, because RT-PCR is quite a sophisticated test. It can only be carried out, in the.
But Dr. Garg, are rapid antigen tests, more reliable in terms of accuracy?
No, you see, sensitivity and specificity is RT-PCR is the gold standard, right? But as I said that, we have to look for a test also where we can pick up, cases in equal numbers. So that will become very, very important. And rapid antigen has got its own relevance in the current scenario, so that we can pick up, much more cases in the scenario where we are getting, large positivity also. And plus, now it is easier to teach also. We can teach paramedical workers in the rural areas to carry out this.
Right, indeed. Professor Singh, now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm told that the incidence of coronavirus in some states is declining or plateauing, which means that we are nearing the peak, so to speak, of the second wave of the pandemic. If so, is there any projection as to when the numbers might peak and then eventually drop, number one? And number two, what does that mean for India's, the strategy of vaccination plus micro-containment zones or curfew or lockdown? Should that continue as well? And if so, for how long?
Yeah, it is. I think the question you posed to Dr. Sunila Garg and this question, they both are interconnected. Number one, it is a good thing that we are seeing that probably it is plateauing, but it is also a fact that the government emphasized antigen testing, rapid antigen testing for various regions. Dr. Sunila Garg already mentioned, because it is easy to perform. It can be done in the rural areas, in the peripheral areas. Semi-skilled people can also use it. On the contrary to RT-PCR, which requires lot of sophistication, and it takes about 4 to 5 days most of the times. So that was the reason. But also it is true that the sensitivity of the antigen test is about 50%. So we should, take this plateauing with a pinch of salt. And I would say that yes, it is good thing to see it because the positivity rate is coming down. But it is also true, and we should not be careless. Again, we have been in December, January, February also, we have been all experts. We have been saying that please don't be complacent. The corona
Absolutely.
is not gone.
That's
so
very vital.
It is too early to be so happy. I think this is too early to say anything, and I would be very cautious to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Indeed. Dr. Garg, now you are in the Lancet Commission, you are on the National Task Force. Help our viewers understand this whole discourse surrounding the B.1.617 variant found, I'm told, in parts of India, and the WHO now designating it as a virus of concern. How prevalent is that, or how virulent is it in the second wave of the pandemic, and what does that tell you about the projections for a third or a future waves of this pandemic going forward as well?
See, primarily when we talk of this is a kind of it's a mutant strain, and it has got lot of resistance basically against treatment also, and it is also in some ways it is resistant to vaccination also.
I see.
So that's where, and it has got very high infectivity as well. So, and also some people, they say that we have not followed it for a longer period of time, but it may attribute to large, we can say it can attribute to even severity also. But that data still has not, we say that it has got large proportion of infectivity. So you see, when we talk about this part like that, we have to continue monitoring about, different, mutant virus in terms of what is their genome sequencing and how they are behaving. Like we started with UK strain, which was responsible for large number of cases in Indian settings. So that.
So are you saying that the initially in the second wave of the pandemic, the UK variant was responsible for that, but then the virus mutated into the B.1.617 variant as well?
Yeah, definitely. Initially we started with that, and that's how we had got this virus, particularly in the travelers which were coming from, the flights were coming via UK or passengers were coming, so it was detected like that. And the government of India proposed a strategy that all the international passengers and 5% of those people who are positive in the community settings. That means in any area you go, you find a COVID positive case, and 5% of that COVID positive case in that area need to be subjected to genomic sequencing. So that is one of the important things. So we have to be particular about what are the circulating strains of virus. So that's where it becomes very important, particularly in context of the variant 617, because now it is spreading to different parts of the country, and double mutations, triple mutations, they happen, and which are not particularly from the perspective of pandemic, they pose a big challenge to us. So that is one thing which is very, very important. But again, as I say, MTV, that is masking, testing, treating, tracking, and vaccination. These are the fundamental things which will help us in control of the situation. And time is ripe now where we can go ahead with the vaccine part, so that, as soon as we get the vaccine, first of all, we are focusing on the second dose of vaccine, which you pointed out. But whatever vaccines we get, whether we get Sputnik vaccine, whether we get, Zycovid vaccine, which is again our indigenous manufacturing, or we get the vaccines from outside, we have to promote the vaccination part at all costs, because herd immunity will come only with the vaccination. It does not come
Absolutely.
with the disease, as seen in polio or in smallpox also. So that is one thing which is very, very important. But
Indeed.
all the times I have brought 2 publications with regard to, the mutating strains and all that, what actions we got to take and what are, the challenges. So that is where, if the time permits, subsequently I'll be sharing with the group also. So it is very important to, look at the circulating strains and the mutation and all.
Right.
And Dr. Saman Singh is a, kind of expert in this domain. So primarily he may throw some more light also on this.
Right, thank you. I am completely running out of time, so may I leave it at that. I want to thank both my guests, Dr. Garg and Professor Singh, for making time for us here on Newsnet, as they all both reminded our viewers, it is not time to rejoice just yet. Let's all be careful. Wear a mask, wear a double mask if you can, like I am wearing one at the moment. Always wash your hands and maintain physical distancing at all times. It is for your benefit, for the benefit of your family and friends as well. Right, on that note, let's switch to some other news we are tracking here on News Night tonight. Cabinet Secretary reviewed the COVID situation in the country this afternoon. He briefed the states on the action taken by the government in controlling the effect of the COVID pandemic since last year. He informed them that groups of experts on vaccination has been working since April last year, and groups of experts on supply of oxygen since August last year. Stress was laid on prioritizing the second dose of vaccine to build effective immunity against the virus, and a call for minimizing vaccine wastage by states and union territories was also made. The Health Secretary also emphasized on rational utilization of oxygen. Secretary Information and Broadcasting emphasized on roping in field functionaries and communities leaders in spreading awareness regarding COVID care in rural areas. Moving on, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday held a telephonic conversation with Bhutan's Prime Minister Dr. Lote Tshering. They spoke about the prevailing COVID-19 situation. The Bhutanese Prime Minister expressed his solidarity with the government and people of India in their fight against the recent wave of COVID-19. Prime Minister Modi thanked the people and government of Bhutan for their good wishes and support. He appreciated Bhutan's leadership for managing the country's fight against the pandemic. The two leaders noted that the present crisis has served to further highlight the special friendship between India and Bhutan. The central government has announced a number of welfare measures to help people tide over the pandemic. Now, one such initiative is called the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. It's a food security scheme announced by the government in March last year. The next report will bring you a ground report on how free food grains is helping people cope with the challenges posed by the pandemic. Take a look.
Amid the corona pandemic, in order to provide free food grains to the beneficiaries, the centre relaunched the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana 3. An additional quota of free of cost food grains at a scale of 5 kilograms per person per month will be provided across May and June. Distribution of food grains is going on as per schedule for the month of May, and so far 15.55 lakh metric tons of food grains have been collected from FCI depots by 34 states and union territories for this month. The Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana proved to be a boon for the farmers, labourers and the poor during the lockdown imposed due to the coronavirus pandemic. Beneficiaries say the scheme has been a great support.
ये सरकार ने बहुत अच्छी योजना चलाई है। जैसे अब आजकल काम नहीं है, घर बैठे हैं बच्चे, तो पेट पालने के लिए तो आपको पता ही है राशन तो ज़रूरी है, इसलिए सरकार ने जो योजना चलाई है बहुत अच्छी चलाई है। मोदी सरकार का मैं धन्यवाद करती हूँ।
गरीब जो घर में या वैसे जो है काम बंद है, उसकी सहायता के लिए सरकार ने बहुत अच्छी योजना बनाई है।
मोदी सरकार ने जो ये फ्री में राशन दे रहे हैं, ये इनका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद है। हमारा कामकाज वैसे ही नहीं चल रहा, हम घर पे हैं।
बहुत अच्छी योजना है जैसे लॉकडाउन में सभी के काम काज बंद पड़े हैं, ऐसे में केंद्र सरकार का धन्यवाद है, उनका बहुत अच्छा फैसला है ये।
In Karnal, the beneficiary ration card holders are being given 5 kilograms of free food grains per person registered on the card.
ये तो बहुत अच्छा मोदी सरकार का हम धन्यवाद करते हैं। गरीब लोगों के लिए जिनके दिहाड़ी नहीं लगती उनको भी सबको राशन मिल रहा है 5 किलो पर मेंबर के हिसाब से। और हमारे पे 117 गेहूँ आई है और सभी के लिए, और साफ गेहूँ आई है, बिल्कुल कोई किसी बात की दिक्कत नहीं है, ज़्यादातर बढ़ चुकी है।
No doubt the PM Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana proved a blessing for many people in this hard time. Bureau Report, DD India.
A community kitchen has been started by the Yuva Chetna at Maldipur in Balia district of Uttar Pradesh. It aims to provide free meals to the poor. For the last 7 days, the needy people in and around Balia and Purvanchal have been given food by Swami Abhishek Brahmachari and Yuva Chetna convener Rohit Singh.
युवा चेतना ने बलिया के मालदेपुर मोड़ पर जनता की रसोई का स्थापना किया है। हमारा उद्देश्य है कोई भूखा ना रहे। लगातार बलिया और आसपास के जिलों में स्वामी अभिषेक ब्रह्मचारी जी के साथ मिलकर हम हजारों लोगों की सेवा कर रहे हैं। उन तक भोजन पहुंचा रहे हैं, उन तक मास्क, साबुन, सैनिटाइजर पहुंचा रहे हैं। घर पे रहें, सुरक्षित रहें, 2 गज की दूरी मेंटेन रखें, मिलके कोरोना को हराना है।
Right, in other news, BJP National President JP Nadda has asked the Congress party to stop misleading people and creating a false panic over the COVID-19 pandemic. In a 4-page letter to Congress President Sonia Gandhi, Nadda asked her whether she and her party are trying to weaken this fight against COVID-19. He alleged that the conduct of its leaders, including Rahul Gandhi, will be remembered for duplicity and pettiness. Nadda wrote that the COVID-19 vaccine does not belong to any particular leader or party, but still the Congress is politicizing the issue. He said the Made in India vaccine should be a matter of national pride. Instead, Congress leaders try to ridicule it and create doubts about the vaccine in the minds of people. Even a chief minister belonging to the Congress party indulged in such antics. On the Congress's opposition to the Central Vista project, Nadda said the need for a new parliament was raised during the erstwhile Congress-led UPA government. He said that then Speaker Meera Kumar had underscored the need for a new parliament building.
कांग्रेस के नेताओं में एक प्रवृत्ति देखने को मिलती है, कोई भी प्रयास किया जाता है उसका मजाक उड़ाते हैं, उसकी खिल्ली उड़ाती है, उसका मखौल। लेकिन मैं ये समझता हूँ कि जब वो ऐसा करते हैं तो ये मजाक केवल भारतीय जनता पार्टी के प्रति नहीं है या मोदी जी या मोदी की सरकार के प्रति नहीं है, ये उन कोरोना वॉरियर्स का मजाक है जो फ्रंट लाइन वर्कर के हमारा इस समय हमारे लिए इस जंग से जूझ रहे हैं।
Meanwhile, BJP MP Meenakshi Lekhi on Tuesday lashed out at Arvind Kejriwal, Delhi's chief minister, over its handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. Addressing a press conference, Meenakshi Lekhi alleged that the Delhi government has neither floated any global tender nor made any arrangement for vaccine. She alleged that there has been no increase in the number of ICU beds in Delhi and the national capital is only using the ventilators sent to them by Prime Minister's National Relief Fund.
ना तो अभी तक कोई ग्लोबल टेंडर किया है, ना कहीं से वैक्सीन का प्रावधान किया है। झूठ मूठ के 4 चिट्ठियां दिखाते हैं, ये वाली इस तरीके की 4 चिट्ठियां। वो परचेज ऑर्डर है क्या? उत्तर प्रदेश की सरकार ने तो ग्लोबल टेंडर फ्लोट कर दिया। आप टेंडर की कॉपी दिखाओ, हिम्मत है तो टेंडर की कॉपी दिखाओ ना। दिल्ली के अंदर आईसीयू बेड्स की संख्या कतई नहीं बढ़ी है और जो प्रधानमंत्री रिलीफ फंड के वेंटिलेटर्स आए थे, केवल वही वेंटिलेटर्स दिल्ली इस्तेमाल कर रही है। उसके अलावा एक भी वेंटिलेटर पिछले साल में नया नहीं खरीदा गया है।
Right, now take a look at what else is making news around India in our National Roundup segment.
In Jammu and Kashmir's Anantnag district, the security forces on Tuesday killed 3 Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists in an encounter. Security forces received information about the hiding of 3 Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists in Walu village of Kokarnag in Anantnag on Tuesday morning. Jammu and Kashmir administration has announced several welfare measures for families affected by COVID-19 on Tuesday. Senior citizens who've lost an earning member in the family will be given a lifetime pension from the government. Children whose parents have died due to COVID-19 will be provided scholarship by the government. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin was sworn in as an MLA in the Assembly on Tuesday. Earlier on Friday, he was sworn in as the Chief Minister of the state for the first time. The Enforcement Director has filed an FIR in the money laundering case against NCP leader and former Maharashtra Home Minister Anil Deshmukh. This FIR has been filed in connection of the finding of CBI in Deshmukh's company's probe. On the issue of reservation of Maratha community in Maharashtra, Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray and other ministers met Governor Bhagat Singh Koshyari and discussed the issue. Thackeray said that he will soon talk to Prime Minister in this regard and his government supports Maratha reservation in the state. Mumbai police has dismissed suspended police officer Sachin Vaze from service. Sachin Vaze was arrested by the NIA in connection with explosives-laden SUV found near industrialist Mukesh Ambani house and the death of businessman Mansukh Hiren. Namaz-e-Maghrib ceremony took place in Srinagar of Jammu and Kashmir. Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey of GCO Chinar Corps commander also attended the event. On the holy occasion of Ramadan, D.P. Pandey greeted the soldiers and encouraged them to work professionally during the difficult times of the corona crisis.
Right, let's get you now some world news. Rockets fired by Palestinian militants in the Gaza Strip towards the southern Israeli city of Ashkelon killed 2 women on Tuesday after 26 Palestinians were killed in Gaza, including 9 children. Palestinian militants fired rocket barrages from Gaza into Israel for a second day, and Israeli warplanes struck the enclave in a deepening conflict. Meanwhile, United Nations office said it was deeply concerned over the escalation of violence in the occupied Palestinian territories, East Jerusalem and Israel. At least 9 people, most of them children, were killed when a lone teenage gunman opened fire at a school in the central Russian city of Kazan. Now, 7 of the dead were children in the 8th grade and 2 adults, including a teacher, also died. Police have detained the gunman approximately 1 hour after initial reports of shooting at the school number 175 in Kazan. Meanwhile, President Vladimir Putin ordered a review of gun control laws after the shooting, one of the worst in recent Russian history, which occurred on the first day back to school following annual May holidays. French state aid for the country's tourism sector, one of many industries that has been hit hard by the COVID crisis, currently stands around 28 billion euros. The nagging uncertainty also weighs on France's own tourism industry. France was the most visited country in the world before the pandemic struck, with nearly 90 million foreign tourists visiting in 2018. Tourism accounts for about 7% of France's GDP. Europe's vaccination rollout has lagged behind those in Britain and the United States. Britain's Queen Elizabeth oversaw the official state opening of Parliament on Tuesday, her first ceremonial appearance since the death of her husband, Prince Philip. In a speech delivered by the monarch on behalf of the government, a raft of post-pandemic laws were presented as Prime Minister Boris Johnson promises to tackle inequality and level up the country. The Queen outlined several bills the government hopes to pass during the next year on everything from job creation and healthcare to stripping back post-Brexit bureaucracy. Protesters gathered outside AstraZeneca's campus in Macclesfield, northwest England, calling on the company to share its coronavirus vaccine technology. The protesters want the British, Swedish firm and others that have developed vaccines to openly license their shots and share their technology with the World Health Organization. AstraZeneca has pledged not to profit from sales of the vaccine during the pandemic. Spain plans to lift its requirement for Britons to present a negative coronavirus PCR test upon arrival from 20th May, provided that the infection rate in the UK keeps declining. The UK will allow international travel to resume from 17th May after months of banning most trips abroad, but Spain is not included in its so-called green list of safe destinations. That means Britons returning from a trip to Spain would have to self-isolate on arrival for 10 days and take 2 COVID-19 tests. And before we take your leave, here's an inspiring story of a school that's now become a COVID care center. A 100-bed dedicated COVID care center has opened at Mount Carmel School in Dwarka in Delhi. It has a team of 75 volunteers, including nurses, paramedics and doctors. While government schools across the country and the city in particular have been functioning as vaccination and isolation centers, this is the first case of a private school in the city operating as a COVID-19 care facility. Take a look.
Amid second wave of COVID-19 pandemic in the national capital, lack of beds in hospitals is adding to the woes of many. In such a situation, many private institutions are coming forward to provide beds and oxygen for the patients. In this series, a private school in Delhi has converted its auditorium into a COVID care center. Mount Carmel School in Dwarka is the first private school in Delhi to have a 40 beds COVID care center in its auditorium, and very soon number of beds will be increased to 100. Notably, oxygen beds, oxygen concentrators, air purifiers and all the necessary medicines are available in this COVID care center. Besides, the school authorities have also put up a big screen where music and films are played to keep patients entertained in this stressful time.
एक तरफ दवाई ऑक्सीजन वगैरह देना है, दूसरी तरफ हम लोग उसका मेंटल और स्पिरिचुअल स्टेट भी देखना बहुत ज़रूरी है. We will have some gentle music playing so that their minds are at rest. और हम लोग ने अपने स्टाफ को बताया कि जब आप उनसे बात करेंगे तो प्रेम से बात करना और जितना मतलब ह्यूमन टच के साथ उनका इलाज करें तो एक प्रकार की आशा उत्पन्न करना उनके मन में.
The entire team of doctors, nurses, health workers and cleaning staff has been prepared to take care of COVID patients. The center, which caters to patients with mild COVID symptoms, aims to unite in this fight and work for humanity. Mukesh Shukla's report, DD India.
And it's a wrap, but news continues here on DD India. You can catch all the latest updates on our social media, mobile and digital platforms. Don't forget, wear a mask, wash your hands and always practice physical distancing. Remember, it is better to be safe than sorry. Now is not the time to be adventurous. Now is the time to be abundantly cautious. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.